Hi, I'm Rokk. Welcome to Rokk Around the Clock, Monday, April the 27th. Blimey, this month's gone. Where's it all gone? So what is it now? 3-4 days to the end of the month. Blimey. So I hope you've all had a great weekend. It was obviously a pretty special weekend for all of us. I'm echoing. Hang on one second. I should have sorted this out before I went live, but there you go. That's how it works. Right, okay. Now we're in. So, thank you for coming along. It's great to see so many names in the chat here. I don't think I've seen so many people. Quick shout out, we've got Brandon. Hi Brandon. Brandon, I've made a moderator today of both the YouTube channel and of our Discord. So thank you, Brandon, for taking on that mantle. We've got Martin, Happy Cloud Gamer, who was part of the Stadia Super Saturday launch on Saturday, funnily enough, which was a great show. And if you missed it, please do have a look at it. It's in my, obviously in my library. But what I did, which was different, I think, to what anyone else did, was I gave 6 up and coming stars of Stadia a platform to talk about themselves and obviously to show off their talents and their channels, and I think they thoroughly deserve this slot, and it was really enjoyable. It was a lovely thing. So that was cool. We've got Addison. Hi Addison. We've got my brother Tony, who, and I've got to tell you this story, and he'll hate me for telling you this, but I think it's amazing. So bless his little socks, he's been watching all my videos and, you know, making sure he watches them all the way through and everything else. And then the other day I said to him, so are you going to get Stadia then, brother? And he said, what Stadia? I said, they must have been the most boring half an hour to an hour of your life watching the channel. Slide echo, got that, I'm on you, 2 seconds, so we can get rid of this. Hopefully that's helped. And I'll take music down a bit as well. It might take a second or two to show through. It's life would be so much easier if there was no technology. Okay, give it a couple of seconds, hopefully that will come through. I did see it, Stadia Player 1, thank you. So yeah, keep an eye on that, let me know. In a second it should clear. Give it a 5 or 10 second space, and hopefully there will be no echo. I will put headphones on so I can just check on this. Yeah, there's still a little bit of an echo. Let's see how we go. We shouldn't have an echo in here, but such is life. And let's face it, it's what content providers struggle with, isn't it? So sorry, I raced on tonight to get this one up for you, and we're not having great. My internet's been down several times today, and which is not good. So unfortunately, we may end up with some issues. So what I'm going to do is just make sure there's no hidden sound channel by unhiding everything. Let's have a look, and we'll just mute that, mute that, and that one. And then we can hopefully, that's everything but the music now. I'll turn the music down a little bit. That should just be me, I hope. Right, it is Virgin. You're absolutely right, Duncan. It was Virgin. They've been down several times today, which is unusual for a Virgin. I wouldn't know, but so they say. So let's have a quick look at the agenda. And the agenda tonight, it's going to be a relatively short one, but hopefully there's some interesting content. We've got the usual news, which is over the last 24 hours-ish. We've got What's Up Rock, which makes a return from the pre-recorded show. And tonight, the headline of When Money Is No Object. And I'm not going to give you any clues until I get there. So moving on to the news then, very quickly. This one, I toyed with whether to cover this because as with any leak, and particularly one on 4chan, it has to be taken with a huge pinch of salt. And I know that there's been various debates across Reddit and Twitter all day long about the validity of this. So essentially, it's an article or a post that somebody popped up onto 4chan, 4channel.org, which is the infamous anonymous posters' usual haunt, where they put things like game leaks and political statements and so on. This one's by Stadia Leaker, who I understand has had some success in the past. And what they were essentially saying is that over tomorrow with the Stadia Connect. Did you know there's a Stadia Connect tomorrow, people? I bet you did. So what they're saying is that a few things that if they came off, everybody would be delighted. Of course they would. But what we've essentially got is Fortnite releasing, according to this, discount on a Founders Pack, likely. Get packed in FIFA 20 as pro games. FIFA 20, a bundle in May with the new pink controller and Watch Dogs Legion trailer and release date. That one's almost a definite, I think. So, take it as you will, with a bit of a pinch of salt. It's interesting. There's a couple of things in there that do take the shine off. One of them is GTA 5, which I think is unlikely. The other one that is the fact that it mentions Founders Pack discount. Well, of course, the Founders Pack was a very limited offer, and that then moved on to the Premier Pack. So that one, in a way, it could be that individual just mistyped it. It's somebody from, I'm assuming, the UK, because they talk about £99, for example. So who knows? We'll know tomorrow. But that's just the old Twitterverse was talking about this, so I thought you might be interested in it. And then on Saturday, of course, was Stadia Super Saturday. I really hope that you got the opportunity to watch some of the content that went up, if not all of it. I know that were some amazing individuals that literally watched it from start to finish, and probably needed the whole of Sunday and most of today to get over it. My slot, as I mentioned earlier, in the evening UK time, was featuring these five guys. In truth, actually, sixth was me. And we had Nick, we had Duncan and Kelly, we had Eddie, Lee, Martin, and then some quite sketchy looking fella down there in the bottom right hand corner who I wouldn't give a job to. It was hugely successful. It was bigger in its intent than the one that was held in Feb, which came about a week before I started creating content, funnily enough. But there was literally wall-to-wall content creators just showing off the breadth and the quality of those people involved in the creation of content within the Stadia community. So, massive hats off to everybody that got involved. Massive hats off to you guys for watching. Huge hats off to the people that got involved behind the scenes. People like Duncan, who's there and who's also in our chat this evening. People like Bill from Stadia Cast, Adam from Stadia Source, Dan from Stadia Source, Eddie, who's I think also in the chat this evening. So, those guys did work really hard to bring it together, and it was no mean feat. Imagine juggling with all those content creators to try and get all the time slots in and everything. So yeah, it was a huge event. I know that the average viewer or viewership of each piece of content was well up on the previous year, which in a sense you kind of expect, of course, because we've seen this huge growth in Stadia over the last five months, is it? November to now, 5-6 months. And of course, with the free Stadia launching a couple of weeks ago, we're now seeing numbers talked about in the 7 figures in terms of people that are in the community. So you would absolutely hope to see that supported, and it's fantastic to see it happening. There's already talk about a Stadia Super Saturday 3. I don't want to, obviously it's too early for me to be able to bring you any news on that just yet, but it's highly likely to be this year and more towards the back end of the year. So that'll be something to look forward to. I certainly will be looking forward to it. And then finally in today's news, one for the rest of the cloud gaming fraternity. So GeForce Now got an update over the last 24 hours. It was a patch which essentially increased the streaming quality, so that's improved that ever so slightly. Under certain conditions, apparently there were some issues at certain conditions, network conditions, and this helps to iron that out. The time that it takes to fire up a game within GeForce Now has been speeded up, admittedly only by 400 milliseconds, but as Nvidia themselves say, every little bit helps, so they can't really knock that for that, can we? And now as well, when you when a game is being patched, there'll be an indication that it's being patched, which of course we're not too familiar with over in Stadia. But it's quite interesting because if you have a look, there's a graphic there and it says patching, and then underneath it says we're currently patching this game. It will be ready to play in a couple of hours. So that in a way is one of the great defining differences between the Stadia platform. But you know, I mean, look, there's a reason for that. They're two different technologies in many ways, and of course the GeForce Now is much more of a sort of virtual PC scenario, so it's only going to patch your game once you want to start playing it. So that is the news for today. There's not a huge amount going on. Of course, there wouldn't be. Tomorrow's the big day. Everybody is getting excited about, including, I'm sure, everybody over at Google Stadia, so there wouldn't have been a great deal of news today. So I thought I'd bring some interesting tidbits to you anyway. And now for this.
What's up, Rokk?
So you remember, if ever you've seen any of my pre-recorded content, that What's Up Rokk was sort of a staple of that format, and in the new Rokk Around the Clock, it'll make an occasional return as and when I feel I've got something worth thinking or talking about. Today I want to share a thought that you may want to immediately discount out of hand, as it's a little fantastic, but bear with me as I think it's plausible. So now that we know that there's a Stadia Connect tomorrow, and it's almost certainly going to be a big one in replacement of any E3 announcements that we would have had in June prior to COVID, I want to put something out there that I've been thinking about. Now, it could be announced tomorrow, but frankly, it could be a future announcement still. But I've not seen this really touched on anywhere else. And it's this. What is arguably the one thing that Google Stadia has access to in spades? Money. And what is the one thing that Google Stadia doesn't have in spades but desperately needs? Games. Well, users, but it's chicken and egg, right? So one more question. Who do we know that has an immense library of games, already has some of them available on Stadia, and has confirmed that they will provide access to a great deal more at some point this year? Answer, of course, is Ubisoft. So here's my thought for the day. What if Google, with huge wealth and desperate need for content that it is developing but not yet in a position to roll out, approached Ubisoft a while before launch and said, look, we will work with your guys to port as many titles as possible to Stadia, and we then want you to provide Uplay Plus to our pro subscribers, but for free, no cost, gratis. We will underwrite the cost with a decent discount, of course, and will let you keep any additional revenue that you make from in-game purchases, DLCs, etc. Now, the benefit to both is clear because Stadia Pro subscribers instantly get access to a ton of new AA and AAA titles, even if not the full Uplay Plus library, significantly undermining the argument that Stadia has no content. Ubisoft get a large chunk of subscription guaranteed times all Pro subscribers, not just the ones who are happy to pony up an extra $15 a month, and all the in-game purchases. This could be a time-limited deal, let's say 12 months, with Pro subscribers getting an opportunity to continue that deal in the year's time at the same discounted rate that Google negotiated, by which time the library of titles available will of course have swelled or swollen considerably, possibly even with a bevy of Stadia games and entertainment and games titles too. Now, while I let you ponder over the potential of a deal like that, why stop there? What if Google took the same deal to other publishers who currently have a subscription model? EA Origin Access is of course the other major subscription-based library available. Why have we not seen any EA games on the store yet? Well, we know that they have been a partner from day one. There are even rumours of EA games about to drop, potentially announced tomorrow. So what if they are, but free to all Pro subscribers based on the same negotiated deal as Ubisoft's? And so it goes on. This is of course purely speculation, but I'm putting it out there because having looked at this from all business angles, I really can't see the downsides for any of the actors. It would have to be time limited, as the cost to Stadia will of course be enormous. However, as any retailer will tell you, loss leaders sting, but they always come laced in honey. Now there's a term used among tech companies that offer bundles like this. They call them rundles. It's an amalgamation of recurring revenue and software bundle. Basically, if you lump a bunch of products and services together, it allows them to sell more overall and increase the value of each purchase. It's a time-honoured practice, and I therefore see no reason why Google would not be working towards putting something like this together as we speak. They have the money, they have the need. They would be filling a gap that would ultimately fill itself in any case, but with Amazon Prime just around the corner, with xCloud about to go public, with GeForce struggling with publishers pulling its titles away, and of course this almost adds into the conspiracy theory of that. It resonates as a potential thing. Of course everybody would be hugely excited if this was to happen, and likelihood is it wouldn't, but it's worth thinking about. Just remember where you heard it first, folks. So that was Rokk Around the Clock for Monday, April 27th. I'm just going to have a quick look over at the chat, see if there's any questions or if anybody wants to raise any points from this evening. Thank you ever so much, by the way, for everybody showing up here. There's Clive, my Generation X partner in crime. Will be on tomorrow, Tuesday, at 9 o'clock, I think, Clive. Might be 8. I'll have to double check. Sorry, brain's gone a bit squitty today. What I'm thinking of doing, by the way, is possibly bringing Rokk Around the Clock forward tomorrow to maybe 15 minutes before the Connect, and then putting a very tiny version of me in the corner over the live stream, possibly with a guest, definitely not talking over anybody, but between trailers and pauses maybe adding some thoughts. So if that's of interest to you, then hopefully that'll happen at about what time is it tomorrow? 4:45 roughly UK time. So thank you very much. It's not as long as I'd like tonight. Sorry, there's a bit of a paucity on information and news, and I'm hoping that not only tomorrow will they give us some game news, but hopefully there will be some releases tomorrow as well. And if that's the case, then I'll definitely be out there to be one of the first to reveal and review, which is, I hope, going to be a hallmark of Stadia Rocks, or Rokk Around the Clock at least, in the future. Thank you very much once again, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you found the WhatsApp Rock feature interesting, if at least thought-provoking. I'm sure it could be shot down all over the shop, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a deal like that in the offing. So we'll see. Take care, enjoy the rest of your evening. Let's have a fantastic Stadia Connect tomorrow. I'm sure we're going to get some amazing news, whatever happens, and hopefully I'll see you there as well. So rock out.